What's going on, Falcons fans? Hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. Your boy, man, Mike had a great Thanksgiving of his own, but I want to get into this video. There's a 3 potential cuts in the Atlanta Falcons for the Atlanta Falcons offseason. This offseason will be here sooner rather than later, and I got a couple of them, a couple of players that would kind of keep a close eye on. Now, this was a particularly difficult one to kind of figure out and find, because the Atlanta Falcons have done a wonderful job of building a nice foundation as far as their salary cap is concerned. These guys have set it up to where a lot of guys are on 1 year, 2 year deals, so they have yet to get into the, to pay in the Kyle Pitts, the Mike Penix, and all these types of guys. So they got a lot of time to kind of get these contracts in place. And like I said, this was very difficult. But let me get into the first one. All right, the first one that I found for the Atlanta Falcons, and do not be surprised that it happened. I think this would definitely be the one that will be cut for the Atlanta Falcons in the offseason. And his name is David Onyemata. Now, I thought it was interesting looking at these contracts that he had a void year in his contract, and that is very odd for a guy to have a void year in his last year. So for me, void years, for the most part, from what I understand, it is one year that you're not going to see regardless. So if you're not going to see that, now this may be one of those situations where the Atlanta Falcons either do two things. They ask him to take a pay cut, and if he end up, if he declines that he doesn't want to pay, take a pay cut, the Atlanta Falcons can decide to cut him. I doubt they'll be able to, find a trade partner. So David Onyemata, you look at what he's been for this Atlanta Falcons defense, he really hasn't done much. And as it pertains to stopping the run, hasn't been a significant upgrade as far as what we thought he could be. He hasn't been that. You look at what he did as a pass rusher, he hasn't, done that for the Atlanta Falcons. So for the most part, when you look at what his significance and his value for this Atlanta Falcons defense, I don't think it's worth keeping him. So the first one obviously is David Onyemata for me. All right, the second one. Now, this was really difficult to even say this, because this guy for us has been absolutely amazing. Now, there's one of those situations that you have to be sure, if you make this move, if you decide to do this, that you have someone waiting in the helms for him, and you're going to go out and be able to either draft the guy or, find someone in free agency. And this guy is Young Wei Koo. Now, like I said, this is extremely possible, because he is a kicker and a special teams guy. But the difficult thing about this is that it's hard to find a good kicker in the NFL. It really is hard to find a good kicker in the NFL. So when you see this, Young Wei Koo, they could either try to trade him, or they can end up cutting him, and it would be somewhere between about $4 million to save. And for me personally, I don't think this is necessary for the Atlanta Falcons, because, let's look at it, it's only $4 million. But if it came down to it, will the Atlanta Falcons need to do that? Will they do it? I don't think it. But we all know he's been struggling, and for the most part, all kickers around the league have been struggling. So this is one of those things where, if you can find someone younger who can do what Young Wei Koo does, then this is quite possible. So again, the second one is Young Wei Koo, and I think that'll only happen if the Atlanta Falcons feel as though that they can find, and they have found, a guy to replace Young Wei Koo, and it's going to cost somewhere between $3 to about $5 million to cut him. So, hey, if it's worth it, it's worth it. The third one, and I think this is one of the most difficult ones for me personally, because, like I said, the Falcons have done such a great job of just putting themselves in a position where they can, dictate who they want to bring in and play for them. Like, they can dictate who and what and how they spend money. They've done a wonderful job. And the only guy that I see on this roster that could potentially be cut is Grady Jarrett. All right, and they'll save, about $15 million to do so. And me personally, how this defense is built, you look at the front four, $15 million, if it's worth it, you go, cut a Grady Jarrett, potentially trade. They can do both and still save around the same amount. Like I said, the Falcons have done a wonderful job of how they structure their contracts. And like I said, Grady Jarrett, I don't see this happening. But if the Atlanta Falcons feel as though that Grady Jarrett is not the same player that we so love and come to respect, they could do that. So Grady Jarrett is one of those guys going to save about $15 million for the remainder of his contract too, in order, to get some money if they want to go out, and if there's a big free agent that they really want and they really like, he'd be one of those guys. All right, it would have to be, in my opinion, with Grady Jarrett, with his value and what he's been able to do throughout the years. Grady Jarrett is that guy. So these are the three potential cuts in the Atlanta Falcons offseason. Like I said, it will be here sooner rather than later. The first one is David Onyemata. They could potentially cut him because of the void year. Young Wei Koo is another one of those guys, and Grady Jarrett. All right, so those are the guys you look at this Atlanta Falcons team that could potentially be cut. All right, so there's a couple of them that I want to kind of name also. D'Angelo Malone and Caden Ellis. I know a lot of people probably looked at him and said, it's like, what if these guys are potentially cut, D'Angelo Malone and Caden Ellis. I don't see that happening. Like with Caden Ellis, it's about $2 to $3 million. I don't know if cutting him for $2 or $3 million is worth it. I would rather keep him than cut him. Yeah, I mean, if you extend him, you're only gaining about $3 million. I don't see the Falcons extending him, so I think it's just cheaper to keep him and keep him on the roster. D'Angelo Malone, if you cut him or trade him or let him stay on the team, unless he's taking up a spot for someone else, I don't see the Atlanta Falcons doing that. So it's not a lot when you look at this Atlanta Falcon team that you could potentially cut and the Falcons get money for. All right, so let me know what you guys think about this, man. These are three potential cuts for the Atlanta Falcons. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. This has been your boy, man, Mike, man, with another Atlanta Falcons video. Check out this video on the screen where I give my thoughts on how the Atlanta Falcons can make this defense, they improve their defense coming up in the next game against the Chargers. So if you haven't seen that video, check it out. The video is on the screen. This has been your boy, man Mike. Hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Peace. Hey people, this is your boy Man Mike. Consider subscribing. Why? It's because the Ask Man Mike segment is for you. I answer questions from wrestling to the NFL. You don't have to be an Atlanta Falcons fan to enjoy this channel. So if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing so your questions can be answered.